Over the past week, a comet passed close enough to Earth to be visible through binoculars. For a brief window, people stepped outside and looked up. Cameras adjusted, posts were shared. For a few nights, something ancient cut across our sky and entered collective awareness. And then it began to recede. Some comets make a single pass through the inner solar system and never return. They do not settle into orbit, they do not establish permanence. They arrive, alter the visual field, and continue along a trajectory that was never designed to revolve around us. There's something quietly confronting about that because it exposes a truth we resist in our own lives. Not everything that enters your world is there to stay, and not everything that leaves represents a mistake.
What unsettles us is not departure itself, but the collapse of control. We're conditioned to believe that if something appears in our reality, especially something we wanted, prayed for, visualized, aligned with, then its presence confirms our power. If it leaves, we interpret that as failure. We look inward for the flaw. We question our belief, our focus, our worthiness. But orbital mechanics do not operate through validation. A comet does not adjust its course because Earth admired it. It does not remain because it was photographed. It passes because passing is embedded in its trajectory. And sometimes experiences enter your life not because they're meant to orbit you, but because they're meant to intersect you.
Intersection is different from attachment. That distinction alone changes how we understand manifestation. When something intersects your path, there is influence, there is exchange, there is gravitational interaction. There is no promise of permanence. We confuse the intensity of an encounter with the guarantee of its duration. A relationship may feel profound and still be temporary. An opportunity may feel aligned and still be transitional. A season of visibility may feel expansive and still be finite. The mistake is assuming that meaning equals longevity. In reality, some of the most transformative events in a life are brief.
In physics, even a slight gravitational interaction can permanently alter a trajectory. A comet that passes near a planet may shift by a fraction of a degree. That fractional adjustment compounds over millions of miles into an entirely different path. The interaction itself is short, the consequence is enormous. Translate that into human experience. A conversation that lasts an hour can redirect a career. A relationship that lasts a year can redefine identity. A failure that lasts a month can recalibrate standards for decades. The event does not need to remain in order to complete its function. Its purpose may have been redirection, not residence.
The redirection rarely feels comforting. We prefer stability. We prefer things we can maintain. When something luminous enters our lives, the instinct is to secure it, to convert it into something fixed. We tighten, we strategize, we attempt to prevent movement. And in doing so, we often distort ourselves. Instead of evolving with the trajectory, we begin managing the form. Conscious creation subtly shifts from alignment to preservation. The question becomes, how do I keep this? Rather than, what is this changing in me? Because shift matters, because one question is driven by fear of loss, the other is driven by awareness of growth.
There is also ego involved. When something leaves, the ego interprets departure as rejection. If this were truly meant for me, it would have stayed. But that assumption is deeply anthropocentric. Not everything that interacts with you is structured around you. Some events are complete the moment they've altered you. The fact that they do not remain does not negate their role. A comet does not fail because it continues past Earth. Earth does not diminish because it was not chosen as a permanent orbit. They influence each other and they move on. That's not rejection, that's completion.
And perhaps the more provocative idea is this: some manifestations are designed to destabilize you, not to comfort you, not to reward you, to disrupt your existing trajectory. When something enters your life and unsettles you, you may interpret that as misalignment. But sometimes the discomfort signals recalibration. The gravitational field is shifting, old assumptions are being loosened. You're being nudged off a path that would have led somewhere smaller. In that sense, departure can be evidence of expansion. The thing did not leave because you are unworthy, it left because its role in your evolution had concluded.
We rarely measure life in terms of trajectory. We measure it in forms of possession. What do I have? What have I kept? What remains with me? But trajectory is a far more accurate metric. Where am I headed? How have I shifted? What has altered my internal direction? If an experience leaves you clearer, stronger, more defined, or more uncompromising about your standards, then it has succeeded, even if it did not stay. Duration is a poor indicator of impact. Some things linger for years and change nothing. Some things appear briefly and reconfigure everything.
There's a freedom in recognizing that not everything bright is meant to orbit you. When you stop trying to trap every luminous experience in your sky, something in you relaxes. You no longer scramble to secure proof of your power. You begin to observe events for what they are, moments within a larger architecture. The sky does not cling to every passing object. It remains vast because it allows passage. That spaciousness is strength. In conscious creation, spaciousness allows for greater trajectory. Clinging compresses it.
And there is a final layer that's often ignored. When the comet leaves, the sky looks ordinary again, but it is not the same sky to the one who witnessed it. Awareness has expanded, perspective has stretched, the internal map has been updated. That internal alteration is the true manifestation. The external object was temporary scaffolding. If you only measure the outer form, you miss the inner reorientation. And the inner reorientation is what carries you forward long after the visible event has vanished.
So perhaps the deeper question is not how to make something stay, but how to recognize when something has already done its work. Instead of mourning the departure, you might examine the redirection. Instead of questioning your ability to sustain, you might examine your evolution. Some chapters are not meant to be permanent structures, they are meant to be turning points. And turning points do not require permanence to be powerful.
Not everything is meant to orbit you. Some things are meant to intersect you and move on. If you can accept that without collapsing into self blame or grasping for control, you step into a more mature form of creation. You stop equating stability with stagnation. You stop mistaking departure for failure, and you begin to understand that your life is not built through accumulation alone. It is shaped through movement. The comet does not resist its arc. It does not attempt to anchor itself because it was admired. It remains coherent with its trajectory. Perhaps that is the model. Not possession, not permanence, but integrity with direction. And if you can live from that place, you become less concerned with what stays and more aware of where you are going.
If this conversation stirred something in you, unsettled a familiar assumption, or opened a quieter, wider way of looking at your own trajectory, then stay with us. These discussions only deepen from here. Like the video so it reaches others who are ready for a different lens. Subscribe if you value thoughtful exploration over noise. Share it with someone who might need a steadier perspective right now. And ring the bell so you're notified whenever we release a new inquiry into the nature of reality and conscious creation. So until next time, think differently, dream boldly, and create consciously.